How's it going?
Wonderful. Yourself?
Good, good. It's been a while since I saw you. I met you through networking, and there's power in that for sure. Um,
100%.
but I want to just welcome everybody to the One Self podcast. Here is where we, this is where wellness and purpose meet. We're here to inspire people to grow intentionally and elevate their brand, business, and life. So I'm really excited to know more about you and, just a little bit about your professional background and, what brought you to entrepreneurship.
Yeah, it's been a crazy journey. I started my career by looking in the newspaper. I was like, okay, at this point, I am dating myself. That's how people found jobs at one time. And I saw an ad that said, looking for somebody who's good with numbers and good with people. I'm like, oh,
Yes.
well, that's me.
Mhm.
I showed up and it was an Amco transmission shop. And I'm like, okay, I'm 18. I'm a girl. I have no idea anything about cars, but figured if it was meant to be, it was meant to be. Went in there, personality blaring. And within 2 weeks, I was the manager and realized that my experience and wisdom and intelligence was actually better served because I wasn't a part of the industry. I wasn't indoctrinated. I wasn't sure what the right way was to do things. So I figured out for me the best way and became incredibly successful. I won awards. I was recruited by Amco Corporate to come into different shops and do Nicole's shop nightmares instead of like Gordon Ramsay's kitchen nightmares.
Oh, cool.
So I went in and figured out, okay, everybody always says it's the technicians. Is that actually the problem or is it something else? Fun fact, it's always something else. And from there, really kind of diagnosing their business, seeing where the issues and problems were, and then fix them. And I was telling men 3 times my age where to go, when it had to be done, and it needed to be done with a smile. So I learned management really quickly.
Cool.
And through that, traveled throughout the West Coast, worked 12 different shops during that time. I was, like I said, an award winner. I was the only person under 40 to do it, the only woman to do it. And then to piss them off, I did it twice.
Nice.
So for me, that was kind of my real, I guess, introduction to business. It was small businesses. It was, solopreneurs who had a manager. Some were on site, some were off site. And then they had their technicians who actually knew how to do the work. So
Wow.
normally a rich guy with blue collar people, and I was the throwaway. And so learning small business, learning kind of that solopreneur small point, I think was integral. I didn't go straight to corporate. Yes, I was recruited by corporate, but I was working directly with LLCs and partnerships as a business model instead of like working with corporate. Because it was like franchise stores. And then I was in a terrible, terrible car accident. I was rear-ended by a guy going 50 miles an hour who never even touched the brakes. He was married the previous weekend and received a text message, went and grabbed his phone and then completely plowed into me. So I had clips one side, oncoming traffic on the other. I was stuck. I accordioned the brand new car that was ahead of me and totaled it with kind of the force of the accident. Like it was terrible.
Yeah,
Took 2 years of rehab to sit, stand, walk, run, do all those things. And I ended up getting an experimental procedure. I was the second person in the world to get it. And I had a 4% chance of being paralyzed. But it was so bad that I went for it and did it anyway. And from there, I didn't want to go back into the automotive industry. It was hard. It was rough. It was being a woman in that industry. And so I wanted to give back and found, okay, you know what? I had been a caregiver and medical advocate for my dad since I was 11. And then through my own health struggles was like, okay, look, I think that the medical industry is something I can get into. Finished my degrees, ended up in a medical lab, aliquoting samples for testing, very gross stuff. But within 2 years was back to running clinics and businesses and kind of doing that same diagnosing, figuring out what the issue was and fixing it. So I did that for a medical device company, a mental health company. I grew them from 6 locations in LA to national through the COVID pandemic, and making sure that people had access to telehealth throughout the United States.
Mhm.
And then, also worked the first year of COVID as a clinic manager and administrator on the front lines. We didn't close a day. And I was working with bureaucrats, politicians, and Oregon Health Authority to figure it out. I worked with the most tenured doctor in Oregon, in Eugene, the town that I was living. And
Mhm.
so we were working with the University of Oregon and, trying to figure out what we were going to do. And so
Wow.
they're like, "Oh, well, Nicole's the manager for Dr. Alcott, whatever
Yeah.
she said goes." And I'm like, wait,
Yeah.
what do I say? Wait, me? Are you sure?
Right.
um, and so, I have had a thrilling career
Mhm.
and done some amazing things. I went through a bad divorce and was kind of disillusioned with, burnout through COVID. I've always been a really passionate person.
Yeah.
And I have the tendency to go faster, go farther, work more diligently than most. And so I always feel like I'm kind of taking people with me
Mhm.
instead of being led or co-leading is my sort of problem, I guess. And so, when the divorce happened and the whole bit, it was an opportunity to rewrite the life that I wanted.
Yes.
And entrepreneurship, working with the solopreneurs and that whole thing, being inspired by the people that I worked with in the healthcare industry that were that, contractor or provider sort of mentality. I've always worked with, yes, corporate, but adjacent with the individuals that work with corporate.
Yeah.
And so it was a really interesting, sort of process that in both of these completely different industries, I worked with, similar job models and
Mhm.
realized it's a lot more fun to be the entrepreneur than the go-between or the corporate person.
Yes.
And just where my skills were and what I thought that, I could give to the world. And so the divorce and kind of separation happened 4 years ago, literally this month.
Mhm.
And so, in that time, I've kind of gone all in for myself and done a few different things in the entrepreneurial, sort of sphere, and am so excited for the future.
Yes.
Long-winded, but that's the story.
Yes, yeah, yeah. But I mean, it shows the growth and the hardship that comes with your journey, and also the skills that you've built through it all. The mindset that you were just in this terrible accident, and then a few years later you had to rebuild how to walk, how to do the things that you already were doing, and you were in these corporate roles, and then in the second step now, like changing your career altogether and taking that risk where you're like, I don't know when I'm going to get my first client, but I'm determined enough to do it. So I think it's a good lesson that people are learning is that you can start anywhere and you can stop anywhere and you can reframe again, and then you can build a different business model. Or if you're in healthcare, if you want to go further, there's always a way to do it and to get the help. Like for example with Nicole, like with yourself, you help these businesses now see themselves in a future light, in a bigger light, where now they can feel empowered to do what they do. Because sometimes you're in that imposter syndrome of like, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if I can make it. Like, am I going to stand the test of time? Because I think on average, more businesses close within their first 3 years than actually sticking through that one more step.
Right.
And I think of like people like KFC and McDonald's and all these businesses that took them, Sam Walton, that took like so many years, but look at them now, you
Right.
know? It's not just about money, it's about like leaving a legacy for your family, but also like leaving a legacy for yourself, because not everybody has that potential to like say, hey, I'm just gonna work a little harder or learn something different. And so that's what makes an entrepreneur, I think, different from
Yeah.
just just someone else that's just like doing the regular 9 to 5, which there's no knock to that. I mean, that's also nice too, because you have a set schedule. You're not stressed out about what am I going to make my next bill.
Right.
So speak to us on that a little bit, on your like, how do you get through that step where you're like, I don't know if this is for me, or like that worry. What did you do?
I mean, I will say entrepreneurship, I think, is the greatest gift. But with the gift comes responsibilities. There's no one that's going to tell you to get your ass out of bed and to send that email or make that phone call. There's no consequence. It is
Mhm.
literally all on you. The good, the bad, the ugly, the fantastic, the marvelous, the dismal, like everything is your fault. And I
Yes.
think that, really leaning into that and going all out for yourself.
Mhm.
You deserve your success, but I mean, you gotta work for it. Like it's
No matter what.
unfortunately, there's no genie that's going to bibbity boppity boop,
Yeah.
into this,
I,
but it is the most fulfilling. It is the most engaging. It is the most flexible. It
yeah.
is the greatest opportunity I've ever had in my life because when you work for someone else, they choose what you're worth. You may believe and have all the thoughts and all of that. In entrepreneurship, you prove it.
You prove it. Yep. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And then also, like, as you're forming your business and as you're growing, you're going to create jobs. You're going to, bring back whatever your idea was to the community. And you're going to, a lot of these businesses also donate their time to different activities. It's not just, okay, I make. They also, some of the, like myself, I'm a Rotarian. I give back in our community. I just volunteered my marketing services and time to the Special Olympics. And I'm
Mhm.
proud of myself for doing that because those are just things that make me like understand that we are not chosen like what happens to us tomorrow. We might not be here, but if I'm always been that person, it's like when you give back, it comes back. Maybe in a smile or a hug or maybe a new client. You just never know where each day takes you. So I think you have to bet on yourself because betting on yourself is choosing yourself. And when you love yourself, you'll love your brand the same. You love the people the same because you treat equally each thing equally, right? So I think, and also like networking. Like if you're a business or if even if you're in healthcare, the doctor needs to know the nurse needs to know the admin. Like at some
Mhm.
point you're gonna have to interact with them. Just like a business like yourself. Like maybe you might not be the most tech savvy, but like, hey, I want to do a podcast. So what tools are out there that I can now use, that I can now leverage, that like later on maybe I'll have the studio and someone to, record me and do all those things. But you gotta start small and start efficiently so that you can make those big steps.
Yeah, I mean, to that fact, there's no I in entrepreneur.
Yes.
You may have this lone wolf sort of mentality, but you're going to grow slower. It's going to be rougher. It's going to be harder.
Mhm.
And ain't nobody got time for that. You have
Right?
no idea how willing the people are around you to help if you give them the opportunity.
Correct. Correct.
And you need to go all in for yourself and realize that, hey, exactly to that point, I am not a tech savvy person. My dad was a tech person, and out of rebellion, I was like, no, not me. And it's definitely not served me in life. And it's something that I need to connect with and find those power partners and that whole bit to make me better and that whole bit. But I've been diagnosing businesses and business practices for 20 years. I have skills that they don't.
Yep.
So, those partnerships, that collaboration, that
Yes.
mutual mentorship
Mhm.
is, I think, what makes entrepreneurship so sweet.
Mhm.
I lived a life before I went to this entrepreneurship journey that was very individualistic, my own success, my own consequences.
Yes.
And making this transition to entrepreneurship, I realized it's corny. A lot of people say it, but your network is your net worth.
Mhm.
And the proof for me is in the pudding. It's in the checkbook. Like I can't deny it. And
Mhm.
if I didn't reach out, I didn't make those partnerships, I didn't find those networking opportunities. I
Mhm.
mean, people have called me the Genesis Point. I'm one of the top networkers in Arizona. Like, these are other people saying this about me. And I'm like, wait, just little old me? Like, I'm just
Yeah.
nice to people and like, let's figure this out. And oh my
Yeah.
gosh, my little ADD Rolodex in my brain, I can make connections. And I'm like, oh
You
my
can.
God.
You can do it right there. You don't even need your phone. I noticed that. You were like, we were at Tab Pierce's event, and like I had met her, and she, helps them with the networking group, and we were in Scottsdale somewhere, and I remember like I walked in, said hello to her. Not even 5 minutes later, she's like, I know who I want to connect you to, and I was just like, oh, okay, cool. And it's like it's such a cool thing to like do it in real life versus like I made a cold call or I made an email or something like that, where it's like you can vet for a person and then you feel like, okay, this wasn't that bad to make this call or talk to them because they're right in front of me and I have this opportunity to ask. So that was cool. Like you didn't even hesitate. You're like, oh, I know the person. And I was like, okay, all right.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, for me, I've always been like this matchmaker type of person. I did it back in high school with my friend group, and some of them actually got married. Like I'm successful in it,
Nice.
and taking that same sort of energy
Your
to
second
these,
business.
right? To the business networking and that whole bit, like the partnerships. Yeah, I mean, some of them are referrals, some of them are affiliates. Like I do benefit in some ways for making the connections at times.
Yeah.
But I'm transparent about it. And if you get your power partner, business partner,
Yeah.
ideal client out of it, like you're welcome.
Yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah. I know.
but making those connections for me, my brain just works that way. And
Correct.
so leaning into that, I mean, I'll say everybody's a genius in something. And I think that that's what I
Mhm.
celebrate on the podcast the best is you're a genius in something. And so if we can all share our genius, the world's going to be a better place.
Of
And
course.
I will say this like matchmaking power networker thing, it's in my genius umbrella and I love doing it. It's really fulfilling, rewarding. Like new businesses have been created. I've done millions of dollars in deals. I've
Okay.
influenced millions of dollars in deals. Like the impact of this is palpable. And I think that that's like the thing. It's just like, okay, well, what can I do next?
Yeah,
What can we build together? And it's
yeah.
um, for me something that I look forward and focus on instead of doing it as I have to.
Yes. Yeah. That's great. That's great. And then also like as you're giving these connections, like now they know a little bit about you too. And then they'll be like, you know what? Thank you for that connection, but I have someone for you too. And then it's like this referral, word of mouth. It still works. It's not just let me find this person on Google or it's about the relationship. It's about building that trust because if they know, like, and trust you, they're gonna come back to you. So and I'm a firm believer that reviews, yeah, they matter, but also the relationship matter. More than anything because you could give anyone a review. You could even buy reviews, but we're not doing that. This is authentic relationships that we're building. Because sometimes, like, because when I started networking in Phoenix, I don't live there. That I live 3 hours away. But I was like, okay, I might be a small fish here, and not all the big ponds know each other. But one of these days, I'm gonna keep coming. And I used to come every single month, and fair enough. Within my third month, people knew me by name. They're like, "Oh, you're the girl from Yuma." Like, so, and then eventually, we had coffees, and then you invited me to that dinner thing
Mhm.
with your friend, and it was a group of us women, and the camaraderie that I felt, and you guys didn't know me, but you gave that space, that seat to me, and it means a lot because it shows that there is worth for me here too.
Mhm.
I fit also here in some aspect, So that's the power of, I think, networking is like you just never know when you're going to meet your ideal connection and then where that's going to take you. Just never know.
You never know.
So, like you said, you've built businesses, you've helped them grow. Maybe they were stuck and then they just said, "Hey, Nicole, like, what do you think about this?" And I just feel I can see your brain like coming with a million ideas, like this, and then you're like, it's like rapid fire.
Yes, 100%. It just comes out of me, and I'm like, just go. It takes a lot for some people, and finding the right partner that can handle that with a smile is its own challenge. And so that's why I'm so excited about the podcast, about ghostwriting, really focusing on me being able to sell the people that I am connecting with, that I'm
Yeah.
having on the podcast. I mean, I was taught to sell by 80s car guys. They
Oh,
can sell ice to an Eskimo with a
mhm.
smile.
Yes.
And, learning that process, entrepreneurs are really great about whatever their business is about. But
Mhm.
most of them did not work in sales departments. They have no sort of marketing sort of understanding, no PR, don't understand the, power of media. And, but they're really good at whatever they're good at. And so, you know, as this power connector sort of facade is, kind of come to the forefront,
Mhm.
I see all of these amazing people. And when I'm making these connections, I don't let them introduce themselves. I introduce each person because I can sell each person better than they can sell themselves.
Because you see it from
So,
the outside looking in. Yeah.
exactly. And so
Mhm.
with that, sort of superpower, I've kind of taken that now into podcasting and then taking it one step further and either ghostwriting whatever they want to talk about or ghostwriting about the episode and what I learned and their impact and who their target client is and what makes them special. Where now they can be like, oh my God, I have a book written about me. Like somebody thinks I'm cool enough to have a book.
Yeah.
Like that means something,
Yeah.
when it comes to building credibility and leaning into authenticity. It's a, consummate sales thing that they can use, for the rest of time. So, focusing on, podcasting, selling them, promoting them, and then now with this book sort of add on, it's a full sort of promotional thing. Like, hey, let me help sell you.
Correct.
And with that leaning into it and the power connecting, connecting the dots and the whole bit, I mean, I just feel technically I'm just like a professional hype girl. Like that's basically what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. I really do. And I think that it's also like you witnessing these people like take that growth step, take that scale step, and you're like, oh, I was part of that, and it's a great feeling as a consulting coach, power connector, broadcaster, like, because there are people that I know that they they have their brick and mortar, they're there, they've got their website, but they're not growing. And then they're complaining, oh, this is no one's coming, no one's coming. But it's like, okay, but are you connecting to people on social media? Like I know you don't want to do it, but you know what? That's one avenue that you're missing. You're not on Google. If you're selling even flowers, you could be on like an Etsy shop. You can be anywhere, like e-commerce.
On Pinterest with your bouquets.
Yes, Pinterest with your bouquets. Like so many ideas are out there. If you like, or like what I tell people is like study your competitors, and it's okay. See what they're doing. See how they're implementing their content. Maybe you might get inspired, or like invest in that light. Invest in a book or a course or a seminar. I've gone to so many conferences. I didn't go to school for business. I come from an entrepreneur family, but it's not in PR. They do property management, but you learn the skills as you grow up through them, or taking these courses, or like meeting with people like you and saying, hey, I'm stuck here, what do I do, what can I implement? And you can say, you know what, maybe you're not implementing video, or maybe you're not implementing your high ticket offer. There's so many things that you can change to grow, and it's about asking the right people and just not being afraid to ask.
Yeah, I think coaching for me, I've come from this like diagnosing, sort of background. And so really I've coached from the very beginning of my career.
Yeah.
Hey, look, these are the issues, these are the problems, these are the fixes and solutions that I recommend. This is how you know if they're working. This is the goal. And really kind of taking them step by step through these different things in different businesses, in different markets, with different strengths, with different teams. So, it's kind of the etch a sketch and kind of bringing them all together and, oh, now this isn't a thing, but now this is a thing. And, that business is a process, and, you're not going to get it right the first time. And, having a coach, having a mentor, you're going to level up so much further, so much faster.
Absolutely.
One of my coaching clients that I've been working with now for a year literally could not even introduce themselves.
Oh.
Like it was like, okay, your turn. Okay, no, that's fine, thanks.
Yeah, I know.
And like literally we're like, oh yeah, come on, round of applause. And even with that sort of active support there in the moment, nope, thank you, next. And so I saw the potential. I saw what they could do. I saw, the future that they could have. And I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna take her on, and we're gonna work together. And it's been a year now, and I feel so fulfilled. I see the growth. She was a sponsor for the $1 Million Mingle. She was a panelist. She's been a speaker. She's developed her high ticket offer. She has printables and different things to offer. We're not 100% perfect, to where we want to be, but the growth is undeniable.
Yes.
And, for me, this power networker, hype girl sort of thing is really kind of a coach too. When I'm doing the podcast, I'm going to ask you the questions I know are going to make you look good. I can ask 1,000,001 questions. I asked this one because I need you to say these 3 things. And this is the question to get you to actually say what I need you to say.
Correct.
And so, the the way that I go, and yes, it is kind of spur of the moment and whatever my brain makes up, and it's a journey.
Right.
But for me, I've done the research. I've looked at the background of the person. I've stalked their social media. I've read their website, all the other pages, some blogs,
Yeah.
and I have a good understanding of, okay, this is their expertise and genius. How do I make that look good?
Yeah.
And, coaching is such a, fruitful endeavor for those that are being coached and open to being mentored.
Yeah.
The most successful people, the best batters, the best footballers, the best actors, they all have coaches.
Yeah.
I hope that, you're not so egotistical that you don't realize that somebody knows something better than you.
Oh
Um,
no. If you're the
but
smartest person in the room, then you're in the wrong room. That's what I was told. When if you're the smartest in the room, you got to find a new room because you have to. Part of life is growth, and growth requires learning, and changing, and evolving. And I, as a business myself, I learned I can't do it alone. You need to have people to who have that mindset that it's like okay, it's okay to delegate because once you delegate, you can grow because now your mind is not focused on 1,000 things you got to do every day. So. And yeah, in a way, you're like, oh no, because now I'm gonna have to pay this person to manage my digital media, or oh no. But then at the end of the day, you get all this time back that you're like, okay, now I can actually do the other things that I've always wanted to do. Because now I'm not thinking, hey, did I post today on social media? Well, no, you can't. You don't think that because you're like, okay, well, it automates. So every 3 days or every 5 days, my Meta or my CRM is gonna do this for me,
yeah.
and it's great. It's great. You feel good about it. You're like, I invested in it. It's giving me my time back. It makes sense for me. But you just got to pick and choose what are those things. Where is your heart and how hard do you want it to like eliminate your time or, it's all about making your time work for you.
Yeah, I think, one thing that I don't believe that entrepreneurs really think about is revenue generating activities.
Mm-hmm.
There are different departments in a business that are going to create money. Your efforts should create money. And if you're doing things that aren't creating money, that aren't necessary or can be delegated, it's your responsibility to do so.
Correct.
And obviously a sales department or marketing department, there's expenses and that whole bit, but the rewards better
Correct.
outdo it. But if you're a solopreneur and you're doing it all, I would suggest micro contractors to start with, and software solutions that maybe only do one thing, but do one thing really well and automate it so that it's
Yeah.
super super easy and fast.
Mm-hmm.
Look at your time, look at how you're spending it.
Mm-hmm.
Even go so far as a time audit if that is something that you really want to get into every detail.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will tell you is, you do it once, you will waste less time the next time. The next time you do it, you will waste less time. And being really diligent, and you look at the really successful people out there, they all have some sort of scheduling paradigm that they follow. So revenue generating activities are going to make sure that the time that you spend is making money so that you can delegate more, push off more, be inspired, take more risks, find more options for your problems to see which are the best solutions, not just a solution.
Correct.
So for me, I think revenue generating activities and realizing where your time is going, because it is your greatest asset.
It is. It is absolutely 100%. Because the more I feel like also like sometimes you can get into this like in the zone, like you're working on something. It could be a simple thing like a flyer or a brochure, but then you look at the time and you're like, did I just finish a whole hour of just doing the same thing? And you just think about it. So like my sister gave me this hack, and she's like, however old you are, that's how many minutes you can sit at your desk. After that, you have to jump up and down or go outside to get fresh air, get a water, get out of your seat because now your brain gets like a break so that when you come back to your desk, now you can like think a little bit clearer because you just emptied whatever was there in hyper
Oh,
focus.
interesting.
So, it could be if your time is 30 minutes, it doesn't matter. But set like a clock and say, okay, I will do this task for 30 minutes straight. And I'll put a timer. And the timer goes off. Okay, I think it's time I need to go get water. I sat for 1, 2, 3 hours on my seat. I haven't moved my body. So naturally, I'm going to feel stress coming on. I'm going to feel like I'm wasting my time, or like, because time management is really important when you're a solopreneur or entrepreneur, because time just goes. Because it's not like you have, a schedule where it's like, okay, your boss is telling you, okay, work on this for this time, work on this for this time, work on this for this time. So every day those are your main tasks. And then, obviously at work, you get the task management tool where it's like, deadline is Friday, right? Here, you make your own deadline. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to be accountable to yourself. Because if
Yep.
you can't be accountable to yourself, your business is not going to be seen the way you want it to be seen.
Right.
So, yeah, so that's the big takeaway for me is like, learning to just get up, take that fresh breath outside. My sister tells me, you gotta go touch grass. Have you touched grass today? And I'm like, oh my God, you're right. I stayed indoors this whole 8 hours or this whole 6 hours, and it did not touch grass. It did not see the outdoors,
Mm.
you know. And for some of us, we have our office spaces, but for others, they work from home. So you got to get yourself out of that environment to find
Mm-hmm.
some more encouragement, or, different things in your day. That's why for me, I think networking is key, because at least you're in an environment with like-minded people, and then
Right.
you feel like, okay, wow, like look at what she's doing, he's doing. Like, I want to hustle better. I want to become stronger as a business person, and you
Yeah.
get motivated. So it's a big one for me.
Yeah, I mean, I have a dog. She makes me, take a break every couple hours. So that helps me. But I'm the type that just locks in and just goes and goes. So I can definitely learn from your sister to touch some grass.
Yes, you have to set some grass or put a little timer and be like, all right, I'm only going to work on this graphic stuff for 1 hour, and then I've got to do admin work for an hour. Like, I know it sounds tedious, but at the same time, what I started to do is like a little Excel checklist. So I know what I have done today. Because sometimes if I don't document, then you don't know. Because just a simple task of, okay, I created the StreamYard link. I emailed the contract out. Like, you're just doing it because you're doing it, but then you were like, did I really do anything today? And then you look at that Excel sheet and you're like, oh yeah, I did get quite a lot done today.
Yeah.
So as I do a task, I write it down, I write it down like clockwork, and then the next thing you know, you're like, okay, I actually had a productive week, or maybe I didn't have a productive week. So that is like a tip that I tell even my clients is like, keep a checklist of what you need to get done, so that you can get that done, and then also reflect for the week before and say, okay, what can I do this week? How many things am I doing socially that I can't do the things that are important with my business? Because what you say yes to, you say no to something else.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I do it. So
Yeah, I think it's great.
yep, yep. So my last question to you is, what inspires you daily?
Um, Me tomorrow. For me, I have lived a crazy life, and the focus on making tomorrow better has been this constant, sort of determination that I have that really propels me forward. I have a man that loves me, a dog that's near perfect. I have a mother-in-law that I actually get along with and is amazing. I am blessed, like in the whole bit. So,
Yeah,
I have the life that I wanted to build. I went through the divorce. I switched to entrepreneurship. Like I made the life that I wanted.
you
And
did.
I think that is one thing that, for me, if anybody's going to learn from my story, like you make the life that you want. If people don't know you, it's your fault. If
Yeah,
you are not living your best life, get off your butt and figure it out.
exactly.
To get there, you are in charge of your life. And so, making the life that I wanted that inspires me is, my the life that I've built here, power connecting and using this genius to bring people together, like for me, isn't work. Podcast and talking to people and having these questions to make sure that they present themselves in the best light possible to grow their business, to find their ideal clients, to
Yes.
build a mentorship, if that makes sense, to build a partnership, affiliates, referrals,
Mhm.
however we can collaborate and figure it out. I'm down,
Yes.
and
Yes.
then taking that energy into building these books around them to even further propel them forward to build their authenticity and credibility.
Yes.
Like it's easy. I feel like I get to do what I want. And so whatever I can do to make tomorrow better, like it's gravy. for lack of more politically correct ways of saying it. So for me, like I want to make tomorrow better. I want to be my best that I can be to make tomorrow the best that it can be. And then at the end of the life, look back and be like, dang, look from where I came from to now, like I did good.
Yes.
And so, for me, inspiration is incredibly important. I think if you're not inspired, you do something about it.
Do something about it. Yeah.
And you owe it to yourself. You deserve it.
You
So
can find inspiration anywhere. Like it could be like I woke up this morning and I saw this sunset, and the sunset made me feel, like wow, it's the brightness in the day. Like I got to see the sunset. Those are simple things that people don't really think about. It's like tomorrow's a new day. The sun will rise again. But also you have to also want it. You have to want that change. You have to want that inspiration, because sometimes you could get yourself down about just the littlest things, and then you wake up the next day and you're like, okay, was it really that bad? Maybe that moment felt bad, but then it's like, what can you learn from that pain? Or what could, like, for example, when you got into that car accident, your life flashed before you, and you had to wake up the next day and all this pain and all this physiotherapy and all this stuff, and regaining. Now you lost your vehicle, so
yeah.
that another stress that you had. But you could have said, okay, I'm gonna keep moping, poor me. But you said, no, I know that I can get through this. I know that I'm gonna walk again, and I know that I'm gonna build something for myself. And so I admire you that you took that pain and you made it, you know, an element for you to shine, and now help shine light on others. So
Thank
kudos
you.
to you, my friend. Kudos to you.
Yeah, I mean, I've lived an incredible life, and the highest of highs and lowest of lows and everywhere in between. And in that, I could have become somebody that easily hated people, the way that I was treated and what I had gone through.
Right.
I could be scared and take that victim mindset.
Mm-hmm.
But, I'd rather be the hero in my dang story,
Yes.
and to slay the dragons and to, find Prince Charming and, my trusty steed, my 100-pound dog, and, entrepreneurship and that whole thing. I mean, yeah, some days it sucks. It's not
Mm-hmm.
perfect. Having all the responsibility can be terrible. And really stressful, and sleepless nights and stressful mornings and running around and pushing yourself and all of that. But again, it's one of the greatest gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me, finding that inspiration has been easy. And I
Yeah.
invite you to position yourself so that it is easy. It should be easy to be inspired, to have a pep in your step. And
Yeah.
I get being depressed, and I get, having things that are, in your way to get there. Um, I mean, frankly, get over it. I mean, you get the
Yeah.
life that you put in. You find the opportunities. I mean, we talk about these inspirational people, these CEOs, these leaders. Like everybody's had to deal with something, but
I know.
it's how they've dealt with it.
And that's true. It's like, get over it. Like, I know it seems so easy. It's just 3 words, get over it. Like,
Yeah.
but it's true, because sometimes, like, you're in that, you're mulling, and it's like you can't mull over the same thing too many times. So sometimes what I do if I find myself in a stuck zone, I say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, get up. And just saying that, you're like, oh, okay, you know what? I have been
Take
sitting.
a time out for yourself.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes you gotta do that to yourself, like, or journal if that's something that helps you. Like, so or get the help. There's no shame in getting the help. You're stuck in your business. You're stuck with your health issue. You are, low self-esteem, self-worth. There are people out there, guys. There's coaches out there that can
I
show
know a
you.
few. Let me know. I'll power connect you to your best self.
Power connect you. So, guys, please follow Nicole. Nicole knows her notebook on her podcast. She has all these amazing tips that she's given us today as well. And for the replay, follow at One Self Consulting. And my quote for you guys watching is, take one step that your future self will thank you for. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Nicole, for being on. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah,
And I look forward to being on your show, and also seeing you again soon in Phoenix.
awesome, amazing. Thank you so much, Natasha. It was great to be on the show today.